And
Welcome to another episode of the Jones Underground Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Jones, and tonight we're discussing Black fatherhood with my brother Mark London.
Yeah.
Mark London, he is a number one, he's a Black father. He's also an assistant within the men's ministry with me in House of Deliverance, Pentecostal, Apostolic Church, and also he works on a deacon board as well. He works
Woo.
with the deacons, and he's also in the club with me as girl dad. You know, how does it feel being a girl dad, man?
Man, it's a lot of words you put out there, but I think overall it was a blessing. You really get to see um, the dynamics of how important the fatherhood's position is. So,
Yeah, especially, you're the first one they quote unquote love before they get out here and do what they gotta do.
mhm.
Now we have a couple of topics that we will be discussing, but first we're gonna be talking about Black fatherhood. Now I remember once I had a whole fallout with someone that's like, why can't it just be fatherhood? What in your mind, what is the difference between quote unquote Black fatherhood and normal just fatherhood?
Although I would like to speak from a unistic approach, Black fatherhood is real. Um, and I hate to say it like this, but there are certain things that we as Black fathers have to train our girls and our boys to do outside in the world.
Yeah.
Um, some things a little more scary than we want to portray, but we gotta tell them. We can't allow them to live in a fairy tale because once we let them live their fairy tale life, sometimes they'll meet a traumatic thing in their life, and then now I gotta clean that up.
Yeah.
I just feel like we just gotta do a lot more than the average father will have to do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of cleanup we have to do as Black fathers is
Mm-hmm.
the culture that number one demeans us, that tells us that we're not about anything, the culture that tells us that we're not needed
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes not wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then once again, it's like almost a running meme where they make it seem like the first thing they do to hurt somebody or hurt somebody Black's feelings is ask them where their father at.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah, that's actually a running joke. So.
yeah. So, but as a father of you got boys and girls,
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference between the way you bring up your girls and the way you bring up your sons?
I mean, it's kind of, from my perspective, I really didn't raise them too much differently. I was just as hard on my girls as I was my boys
Okay.
because um, I've seen men that had the do the princess aspect with their daughters, and I've seen what they came out to be. And sometimes they come out there when not having a real expectation of life, what they expect as to eventually grow into a wife or expect what to get from a husband.
Yeah.
And I made sure that my children understood, my daughter specifically, understood exactly what that meant. Even though you're a girl, don't mean life still won't be hard for you.
Right.
One of the things I teach my children, especially my daughters, is that don't put yourself in a position where you got to be at the mercy of other people.
Right.
And some people kind of like, well, it's not, but that's why I raised them to have a certain independence, but understand when the time is that you can depend on somebody to do something, then do so. But outside of that, you need to understand that you need to maintain yourself. I
Right.
teach my boys basically the same thing too. So, that's how just one of the things that I experienced as a Black father, teaching them and understand the difference. But to me, it really wasn't much of a difference.
I can say I do like I do call my daughters princess when I text them.
Mm-hmm.
When I do kind of baby them a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
then I have found myself, especially my 16-year-old, my youngest, I tell her the hard truth.
Mm-hmm.
I still sense because she's more political than the other ones are.
Mm-hmm.
Like when stuff goes down, she knows what's going on with the politics and with the news cycle more so than my son does. So she's more, she'll bring that to me, and I kind of have to let her know, hey, you're in the time harder than what it was when we were coming up,
That's right.
because the racism when we was coming up was more subdued.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's more out front.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're taking away diversity. Now it's harder for you to really go out there and get a job based on, them needing to have somebody that's not like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't have to look into you being Black to hire you no more.
Mm-hmm.
and that makes it harder not only getting a job, going to college, and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So sometimes you do have to tell your girls, hey, ain't nobody handing you nothing. And not only is nobody handing you nothing, in my opinion, I think the young black girls have it even worse than the young black dudes have it. And I just think the way the culture is tilted to treat the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Don't respect them, treat them like they're a dime a dozen. Treat them that they got to do something with their body or show their body to get some kind of attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it's us, the black fathers, especially when you have girls, you got to get them away from that.
Mm-hmm.
My son, on the other hand, it's I more or less I try to give my son the playbook before he go out there. Like, hey, son, this is what's gonna happen to you. Go on out there and do the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because my son is as smart as my son is and as bright as my son is. He can be as hard headed. He gonna do what he gonna do. And sometimes he won't even come to you and let you know what's going on until like it's next level. Like when
Mm-hmm.
he talks to me, it's DEFCON 6. Now I
Mm-hmm.
gotta hey, now I ain't gotta clean this up. This is your life.
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
know.
Right.
But when you got older kids, when he was in high school, it was kind of like more guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's more like, that once a week conversation. Hey Nathan, how you doing? How's the baby? That type of stuff. So the boys are always a little, to me, I don't have as much, I'm not as strong on the boys
Mm-hmm.
as I am with the girls. My daughters, I was like, because I think the girls, especially me being a softer guy with the girls, they would try you more.
Mm-hmm.
My son didn't try me as often as my older daughter did.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully my youngest daughter don't try me as much as he did.
Right.
But I don't even think she'll get the chance. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just when you always have that dichotomy. Your older girls get to the point where they start feeling themselves, and it's like you gotta get them in a cage match and stuff like, hey,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is it time for you to go, or
Mm-hmm.
think you need to move out and do your own thing because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have that amount of freedom here, you know. So in saying that, and I've had some time with your daughter Michaela. It's like she's been in a couple of my Sunday school
Mm-hmm.
classes. When you are involved in church, how does it feel when you see your kids come to church and they want to be in church with you?
Brother, I'm glad, but I did have times where I thought I was failing.
Mm.
Um, there were times I cried and really can talk to God and Lord, they seem like they're not showing interest in the church, or they're not showing interest in, prayer, and they're not showing interest in that. But God kind of flipped that on me. He said, now, let me ask you this question. What are you doing?
Mm.
Boy, that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Wow.
So when I got that clarity, I started praying from it, with them, and then I make them pray. Then instead of, it's crazy because sometimes you got to watch how you talk. Like when you say you don't want to go to work, everybody says that.
Amen.
But it's bad enough that some people in the world that say they love Jay, they see church and all things as an option. Well, in my house, no, that's not an option. That's something we will do
Right.
because it's important. It's just as important as just like going to work or, you got to live. That's a part of our life. And when my kids see my excitement from to go there, well, they gonna naturally say that what excites dad from being here. So sometimes when they go to work, when we go to church, even at the church, I will stay and commune with my brothers and my sisters, go
Right.
around telling people I love them and hug them, and seeing that, let them see that we do have a support system. And then all of a sudden they start reaching out to other kids.
Right.
Then they start reaching out to some of the other members. And I thought about that. I say, oh, okay, God, see. So it brings back to the scripture says that train your child in the way they should go, and when they get older, they won't depart from it. Well, I didn't understand it all the way through. Training is sometimes just by sight.
Yeah.
Sometimes you ain't always got to do word for word, but if I could see you do it, constantly doing it's a way of sort of training them.
Yep.
And so, it feels good. And then I got a few confirmation from other members saying that you're doing a great job, and it just gave me a second win. It just gave me some pride in my chest, like I am doing what's right. So
Yeah, because when I say if the kids are doing something,
Mm-hmm.
they're right there doing it with them.
Mm-hmm.
If they singing, they singing. If they dancing. Type of situation. But it's always good. I know it's kind of one of the things I had to deal with my kids because my kids worked full time with me,
Mm-hmm.
and so when they kind of had their issues with coming to church, it kind of it does make you feel like, man, where did I go wrong? And then you have to realize, especially when you're not the primary, because you don't have primary custody.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty much at the whim of what the other parent is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so in your head, you have to understand that all you can do is lead by example. You see me doing right. Hopefully that is influences you to do better, and just like you said, church is not something that's optional for me. And it's a lifestyle for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just go to church and act, oh, well, we all good. We all wonderful and everything else. No, this is a lifestyle. So I take what we do at church, take it home,
Mm-hmm.
try to structure. We got Bible verses on the wall.
Which I do too.
We want to make sure that we're, not just coming in the church one way and doing something outside of church a whole nother way.
Very important.
And it took me, I don't know, it took me a lot. I had to not only pray, but change a whole lot up,
Mm-hmm.
my old life into the new life that I have now,
Mm-hmm.
especially once I got married.
Mm-hmm.
So in your experience, when you said you had to kind of pray to God about some of the stuff that you had to change, can you give a like a small example of just changes you had to make as far as your mentality?
One of my distinct prayers to God was, Lord, let me be let me be able to identify what's blocking us in
Right.
the household. Because one thing that I am very understand is that I am the priest of my home. So that means I have to be watchful of everything that's
Yeah.
coming in and out of my house. So I started noticing, like, when my kids, when they on their social media, they, kids, it seems like sometimes they deaf, but it's just me. But you can hear what's on their phone.
Right.
We got memes and stuff every day, but sometimes something that a meme might be funny, but if you listen to the background music, it's something negative.
Right.
So now, even though it might be entertaining to them visually, but not up subconsciously, they hearing something else,
Right.
which is putting something in them. So I would tell them, hey, listen, we're gonna decrease all of the second meters coming in this house. And if sometimes I have to check myself, because I'm just gonna be very frank with you and real with you. There be times I'd be sitting there, a song that I used to like in the secular world come to my mind all the time. Like, man, I would love hearing it. It's crazy because you really want to listen to it.
Yeah.
But then I'll think to myself, bring that into subjection, like, what is that going to benefit me?
Right.
I can't tell my kids one thing and do something. I do not desire to be a hypocrite at
Right.
all. And so it's little things like that that I had to start really seeing. It's just this understanding. It's not most of the times, to be frank with you, most times big things are not big things, just a myriad of small things put together.
Yeah.
So, at that time I had to really say, Lord, let me identify the small things so they won't get big, so they won't get out of hand, so they won't be something I can't bounce back from or teach my kids away from. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I move.
I would say music is one of the more important things that I say drives the culture. It drives the culture that we want to fight against.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of that, especially with these influences creeping more and more into gospel music,
Mm-hmm.
is one of those things as a parent that we have to keep a close eye on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, with me, is more being by example. I could let my kids know, hey, you don't hear me listening to, denigrating music or
Mm-hmm.
overly negative music. Because a lot of that music is just, when I hear a bunch of gunshots and, a bunch of women moaning in music, it's like, turn it off, or if we see a video and it's half the time it's people fighting and throwing hands and stuff, like, no, I don't want to see that. Let
Mm-hmm.
me block this person on my social media. Let them know I dislike this. I don't want to continue to see this scroll across if I actually do look at something.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that, especially when the kids are so exposed to it, It's one of those things as a parent that we really have to, because they're gonna do what kids gonna kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they
Yeah.
gonna do what they gonna do,
All
and
right.
it's very hard for us to lock it down.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case, how do you come to the acceptance, especially you having older kids now?
Mm-hmm.
You got a daughter that graduated, you got an older kid from her. How does it Where's that transition from the kids being kids and the kids starting to be young adults?
Well, I'm actually in that moment right now. I got a senior this year. I just graduated senior last year, and the year before that, I graduated my oldest son.
Right.
One of the things that originally I was really struggling with is like there used to be this thing about age accountability.
Right.
Around a certain time where they understand left from right from wrong, but kids don't understand right from wrong when they're young age. I think it's with a point where you can make a decision if this is gonna change my life. How? If you can think it all the way through, then yeah, then you understand. And I didn't start really seeing that until my kids got around about 15-ish, 14-ish.
Yeah.
So at that time, I made them very aware of this. When you're in my household right now, you're under my protection. So what I'm giving you is for my protection right now, but it's also gonna help you when you leave.
Right.
And then right around 17, this is what I start doing all my three oldest ones. This You're now at the age where you can make a very sound decision. And when I mean a very sound decision, you know what you want to do, where you want to go, how you want to accomplish it. Now, by me, God's will is going to trump whatever you're doing. But if He allows you to happen, you got to make sure it is you're doing it the right way.
Right.
But as far as being in my household, my protection only is in my domain right here.
Right.
What I give you, either you're going to use it or you're not. God is giving you the choice of the free will.
Right.
So you can make the choice to make the right decision or the wrong. But believe you me, I've already told you what's gonna come out the wrong decision
Oh
and what's
yeah.
gonna come out the right decision. However you do that is on you. I tell my kids, if you once you go out there and get your apartment, whatever, if you I give you the one time where Dad, I messed up my money and my rent, I'm gonna help you that one time. But after that, you're gonna have to learn like everybody else, because what I don't want to do is enable you and then you become a burden on me, because then you're gonna feel like I didn't do it right. Either I know I told you right, and you're gonna have to execute, or you're gonna fall. It's not that I want you to fall, but when I give you the answers before the test, and somehow in your mind you believe there's another answer to the test,
Oh yeah.
at some point I gotta let you get the F.
Yeah.
If you think that the answer I'm not giving you is not right, then okay.
Now, I mean, I had a similar talk with my son when, he was kind of, hanging out hot and heavy with his girlfriend, and
Mm-hmm.
magically you be telling the kids like they think holding hands is what gets you a baby, or that's what you're telling them. No, you know better. And then now I'm a whole grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, and in the process, it was letting him know you're not going to be able to raise a kid while living with me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether you do what you're gonna do or whatever, y'all got to figure that situation out. But this house isn't big enough for you and her to be here trying to raise a kid up in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that option is off the table. And plus, I'm a little too old to be having babies hollering at me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but sometimes it's that hard time of, you made this bed
Yeah.
and I love you and I'm gonna do everything that I can to support you. And he's been good. So he ain't calling me every day crying, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's been holding it down. But it's just the fact of he stood up. He took care of his girlfriend the best way. He's taking care of his girlfriend the best way he can. He's being a good father,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing that. And he ain't up under me doing it. And so that's the main thing. But the funny thing is, even if I don't hear from him, he will be the first one to tell you that everything you taught me is meant something.
Yeah.
And especially with your girls, I don't know what it is about my youngest. Out of all my kids, she's the one that clings the toughest one.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one I feel like I spend the least time with. She clings to me hardest.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, when it's about these, especially your teenagers, it is it's just a whole nother level there, man. It's just a whole nother level of just getting them to understand, like, you think you know everything,
Mm-hmm.
but you're gonna get out there and find out.
Well, it's funny that you say that because one thing I tell my kids all the time, whatever age they at, like, let's take my daughter to 17. I say, you've only been here 17 years. I've been 17 twice already. She's like, how's that? I said, I'm 37 years old. I
Yeah.
did that until 2 times over plus 3 years.
Yep.
What you think you don't know, it's not just A and B. We live in a world where a lot of people bring in a lot of gray area. You got to navigate that. Most times just A and B, but there's the gray area right there. You got to learn how to get around that stuff. And if you, and I've already been there. If you don't believe that I've been there, all right then, you got to figure it out your own self.
Now, the second part of what I'm asking you, now you're doing all this as a single dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how tough is it when you don't have, say, a lady or a mother figure, kind of, or even a stepmom, and it says, how hard is it to do this by yourself?
It's pretty, it's difficult. I would say, like, I got my mom that can help me, but the problem with that is that I do believe in a lot of her old tradition ways.
Right.
But the problem with that is that sometimes this is trying to fit a round shape into a square space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, back in the day, in her day, being too sexualized is showing a leg or a slip or something.
Right.
It's not walking around half naked or nothing like that. Where I've had somebody in my life um that likes to dress more tasteful and stuff like that and still
Right.
understand confidence and things like that. It's kind of hard for me as a male to teach my girls that. All I
Yeah.
can just kind of tell them. I mean, it's pretty easy for my son, just be dapper, son, you'll be okay.
Right.
But it's kind of hard because the girls are living in a society where it's almost like if you show your body and do other stuff, this is how you're gonna get the love you're looking for. But that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like what you think. It's funny, and it's. I try to tell my daughters this: the world does not know what love is.
No, it does
The
not.
only love that you'll ever experience that's real is from the love of God, Jesus. Period. There's nothing more, nothing less. And so sometimes I could tell they listening, but again, we still dealing with, I want to find out for myself, or is this true what you're saying? So I have to allow them to do that.
I had a couple of years ago, my son was turning 18, 19. I think it was for 18th birthday. And my oldest daughter, they're all big anime fans.
Mm-hmm.
So, they have a DreamCon that's down in Texas. And I think it was in Austin that year. And they decided they were gonna, take him with him to DreamCon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what Nathan don't understand is all this anime convention stuff. There's a very dark side to that,
Yeah.
where the ladies be cosplaying very provocatively. They be showing a lot of body,
Mm-hmm.
and he was not ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
So when he kind of came back, it was just something that he was like, "Dad, I was not ready."
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where you do everything you can to guard your kids from really participating in it. Because my daughter, I guess she went by herself this year, and she wasn't bad, compared to what you see from everything else that's going down there.
Mm-hmm.
And so in your head, you like, yes,
Right. Right.
you follow her content a little bit. You see it, she's covered up, you know. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My comment is based off what you said.
Mm-hmm.
How do you teach your daughters not to look for love when they watch their fathers look for love?
I'm gonna let you cook on that one.
Okay. So there's an aspect that I realized recently about that. How I embrace my daughters is how I would embrace the one that I love. And one thing I make sure that my daughters know is that I love them. And not only do I tell them, but my daughters will tell you in a quick, I will call them out the blue. And I got funny name Peaches and Bumpers. That's what I call my daughters.
Yeah.
I'll call them out the blue and I say, I love you. and you're beautiful. I give them a hug and I brace them. And sometimes, they look at me like, Daddy, at one time I was really pursuing somebody at a time, and they was like, well, Dad, well, when we gonna meet her? I say, I'm not gonna let her meet her till I'm sure that this is who you need to meet. Or they was like, well, they asked me all the in between questions, but I'd be like, I'm not doing nothing that I'm not supposed to be doing, because I cannot show you something different than what I'm raising you under. So I don't spend the nights. I don't do all the, you know, the riff raff and with a date. I keep
Yeah.
it cordial, because when I move, when I start bringing them around, I want them to see how somebody loves somebody.
Yeah.
But until I get to that point, I need to show them how to love. And then not only do I tell them, show them, but I ask them questions like, what do you think love is? What do you think, what's gonna come out of love? What do you expect to come out of love? And sometimes I ask them questions because some people move with something that people already know what they looking for. But you
Right.
gotta understand, you don't know what you look for because you've never really experienced it.
Right.
And so I have to hone in on that. Hey, listen, this is not gonna come from this. I don't know who told you that, but I never taught you that. Or you almost there, but you won't. And I have to be real with you. You won't experience certain things until you get to that point.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the things I tell them now is like, don't give off wifely duties with a girlfriend title. You can't when you give stuff like, and see, subconsciously when you do that, in his mind, he already think he your husband.
Right.
And in your mind, because you being white, you thinking you his wife, until you realize that the boyfriend and girlfriend tie can be broken at any time.
Oh yeah.
But anybody that's really married that takes that seriously, they don't move like that. You know what I mean?
I would say there have been times when I took my time bringing the kids around women that I dated, because you could probably count on less than seriously dated. You could probably count on less than one hand how many people I've been in serious relationships with. But then my wife has probably been one of the very first people that I didn't hesitate about bringing her around the kids, because when I met her, it's like my spirit kind of jumped. This is a woman of God, man. I wonder what I remember the first time I met her, and she was saying we were moving, and when she said we, she got to have a husband. I didn't know she meant her and her mom. So when I found out it was her and her mom, I was like, she's single, yeah. But it was like when I introduced her to my kids, it was one of those things where they instantly kind of vibed with her, and they really had a connection with her. Now, where we come since then is, you have your journey and that type of stuff. But it's one of those things where, when you find the right one, it just starts, things just start clicking. And so I would say I hope everyone finds the right one, because it's very hard to get. I wouldn't want to be single for nothing. So, wifey, if something ever happens, I ain't going nowhere. We're gonna have to work that situation out.
If something happens, we going together.
Yeah, we be in pastor's office together. but that's the point where I say you don't want to be you don't want to just put anything around them, because how you deal with relationships, if you treat a woman less than, they'll feel less. Your girls will feel less than, and then that empower your boys to follow right behind you and do the same thing. And my son, when I sit here and say he treat his girlfriend like gold, I like to think because I think I think me and his mom are both married, but that's the thing. He said it at his baby shower that he enjoys the fact that he has a father that, in him being married, teaches him how to treat his woman as well. And so, and if something happened, then you ain't learned that from me. But because you see your dad, holding this relationship down. But that's the point. Like, how we do relationships is how they find. That's what they're gonna follow up on.
Very, very much so. Very much so.
Did you have any other questions, ma'am?
No, I just thought because a lot of women, the way they feel about what they look for in guys, a lot of young women tend to run for love and try to follow up after daddy figures because, and this is women without fathers and women with fathers. They still look for father figures in these people because there is a lack.
Okay. Well, let me get in this microphone,
So,
but I'm gonna let you cook on what you just said.
I've been watching a lot of podcasts lately, and I mean, I don't really look at to gain anything, but I look to watch. I was just making this point earlier is this. It amazes me how everybody's listening to each other, but the blind is steady leading the blind. You telling me how to be with somebody, you single as a jaybird.
Right.
You telling me how to love somebody, but you getting divorced right now.
Right.
I'm like, that don't make sense. And it. But let me say this. I don't want to be too far off topic, but that's why I love the word of God.
Amen.
Point blank. Period. Be mindful of the counsel that you listen to and you surrounding yourself with. And I thought about that. I was like, man. And then it's so funny because you can start hearing people start to lean towards God, then you start hearing that man version come right behind it.
Don't trust them. Don't trust
I'm
them.
like, how were y'all putting two different worlds together? How were y'all doing it? And don't see that it's not working. At what point you gonna acknowledge this is not working?
Well, I collected a lot of mentors of the married men that are around me. I collected Elder Sterling, Sterling Jones, Joneses too, we call him. Larissa Jones. We fought, man, they have mentored us, helped us a lot. Pastor Battle, First Lady Battle, they've helped us tremendously and shown us the way. My man Brad, my ace, Shantae, James, they both married people, and just Elder Nicole, Elder Bert. I mean, the list just goes on to how many married. It's hard to find 5 married couples in a church, and we have like 11 married couples in our church, and they're all, I don't, and I'm not following nobody home, but I don't see nobody coming to church for cheating on their wife, and I ain't even talk about the Wingos. They're like family, brother and sister to us, and they raising their kids good. They are taking care of business good. They taking care of their wives and stuff like that. And that's the thing. If you tired of being single, look to these married men because they gonna show you. I've seen married men get off. They got off social media to make their situation work, or they do this to make the situation work. And once again, you have to be willing to what you put in front of your kids, especially being that not only are a lot of these men married, but they're also fathers of children, daughters, and stuff. And so, and these are their kids are successful, honor roll students, this and that. So, for me, when I was making a decision on what church are we going to be at, because I was playing for a different church when me and my wife got married. I came to House of Deliverance because of the culture, because it's so many married couples. Because when I meet these people and they meet me and they hug me, I don't feel fakeness. It's genuine, it's real love. And that's the one thing where, as a man, especially when you are fathering your children, they need to know, are you living this thing for real? Or are you coming home being a completely different way? Because that's one thing where you can lift up holy hands and then you got, secret dates every other Friday, weekend connections, that type of situation. And I know I'm being raw with it, but bro, I've been in church a long time. I've seen the dark side of what some ministers, single ministers especially, do, where they got a whole life that you wouldn't want to know about it if you ever found out. So how do you navigate that being a single man, not only being a single father, but being a single man, especially in the prominent position you're in church?
I take the word of God seriously. And some people are like, well, that sounds cliche, but if y'all even knew what happened in the last 5 years of my life, man, it's just like, okay, God, what is this? You know, my kids didn't even know I was capable of crying until they saw me crying at church.
Wow.
My kids didn't know that I was capable of serious praise that I was at church. But then they start seeing me crying at home.
Wow.
They start seeing me crying and worshiping at home. They started wanting to pray with me at home. That's why it's direly important to keep it real with yourself and ask this simple question. And I had to ask myself this: what do you want? Do you want to continue going down the life that you believe you carved out and think that you're doing the right thing? And let's put in the harsh reality: 9 times out of 10, majority of our decisions might not have been right.
Nope.
But when I made a sound decision, I said, Lord, okay, I surrender. I am not capable of making a decision that I know that's going to get me far in life.
Right.
Give me the courage, the knowledge, and the wisdom and understanding to move forward from this point on. That was a serious prayer for me. I started seeing things differently. I started moving differently.
Right.
I started really taking on what God wanted me going on. And I ain't gonna lie, one of the first things that I had to fight was my flesh.
Yeah.
And I had to bring it into subjection. I'm being real. Sometimes it's hard to see your sister be like, Lord, I'm looking at the sky. I'm being real. I'm being real. Initially. But I started looking at sisters with love and admiration, as far as like seeing them progress in God just like I am.
Right.
And when I start seeing that I don't have to look at a woman in such a manner where I would have a lustful eye or lust behind them, things started changing. And now instead of seeing a woman physically, the way I'm looking is different now.
Amen.
You know, I'm not looking for something physical because, be honest with you, and it's I hate to say it, but looks is just like the next vehicle outside. You know, it's gonna come, it's gonna go.
Yep.
But what's in her spirit, what's in her emotional and mental capacity is all important now to me, because I know that I falter, but I look at you and your wife's dynamic. I know for sure that she has your 6.
Oh yeah.
You know, and the one thing I learned as a leader, once you say yes to a wife, the expectation for you might not make all the sound decisions. She's gonna follow your leadership, but if she has something to say, take exactly what she's saying and really assess everything together.
Yeah.
You'll know the difference between when it's a selfish moment versus maybe this. I don't think that's right for this reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how about look now? It's just like what your life is like. What do you believe? How do you believe? You know, because remember, it's, you know, as funny as the word says, it's not the world. There's not the woman looking for me. I'm looking for her.
Man.
You know. So
man, the funny thing is, this book been sitting here the whole time, and that's the lesson we had that I had to teach in Sunday school. Because it's like, man, I was honored when they came to, ask me to teach in Sunday school, but then they said they want me to teach on, sexual purity, and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to kids about. I gotta have a talk for 10 weeks straight with these kids. But when I sit here and say this, when we had the girls and the boys, they was getting the real. They was getting truth. And we was, because sometimes the book wasn't from a culture like ours.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of take what the book said and apply it to the culture that the kids are from.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just telling Jordan, you have to understand that it's not just having the respect for a girl's father. Because whatever she's got on, even if she don't know, you got to understand that her true father is Jesus. And if you treat her some kind of way, number one, what if Jesus is going to hold you accountable?
Right.
How would you feel if somebody came and treated your daughter in a way that wasn't flattering? Mm-hmm. And so when I sit here and say that was probably one of the best lessons I ever wrote, but it's just one of those things where God wrote it, because a lot of us, when we look at women and, men, I'm not just talking about the young guys, but us older guys too. We have a tendency to look at women a certain kind of way.
Right.
And you're right. Sometimes women do put themselves in situations where we do need to not look at them. We have to get our attention somewhere else because people are wearing tighter clothes. Mm-hmm. They're showing more cleavage, that type of situation. Mm-hmm. But in the midst of all this, we have to understand that while it may not be their intention to, because they just may be feeling themselves a certain kind of way or whatever else. We as men still gotta walk the high road. If somebody walk in front of us naked, we still gotta have our composure. Mm-hmm. We still gotta know who we represent when we treat people a certain kind of way. We still can't stare them down like they're some piece of meat,
Yes,
like we can't do that. And so it's working with the kids on those subjects. It kind of allowed me to realize there's some stuff in me that I have to continually work on and stuff,
Let me make this point. My 11-year-old, and this gonna sound crazy. Sometimes my son has he has a reading issue,
right?
And sometimes he can't always spell the words right, but we're working on that. But if you talk to him, you would never think that. He even uses big vocabularies that I don't expect him to know. Not only not expect to know, but how to use them and spell them. But he just knows how to do it,
bro. He perceptive.
One thing it made me realize something. When I saw that in him, I had to think about my older kids immediately. Mm-hmm. My personal opinion. It's just my personal opinion. How people feel about it is fine. If you don't know how to tell the real truth to your kids about the sexual consequences of having sex before marriage, the serious consequences of it, you need to start asking and be humble enough to ask. One thing I realize now is that now I listen to a lot, back to the podcast, and I listen to a lot of people. They didn't understand the consequences of having multiple partners. They didn't have to understand the consequences of the things you would take from these multiple partners.
Right.
Something like a word that people overlook, especially in that world, is preferences.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's bad for you because most people will ignore all the bad stuff about that person for that one thing. And once they leave that one person, they take that one thing and start piecing together. And then now you got a preference Frankenstein. And guess what you end up looking for? A person that you made up in your mind that's the perfect person that don't exist.
Right.
Had I known that when I was a young man, I probably wouldn't even be where I am right now. I'm not even with the things that I learned from the people that was older than me. They did not teach me that. I had to learn it on my own. And I thought about it. If I had learned my own, I need to go back and tell you, hey, do not do this because it will lead to this.
Yeah.
Man, it's funny because let's be for real. And although it's kind of great, everybody want to be a first for everybody. For somebody, especially in love. I want to be a first. Have your kids, marriage, or whatever. And by the time, let's be for real, because we live in the world of Nick, half of us not going to make a quarter of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So at the end of the day, that's something we should strive to do. Make sure that our kids are informed about the just the dangers of that. Like they don't understand it. And it's crazy because of that. It amazes me how people devalue people off of that. Like, you know how much stuff you got wrong with you, brother?
Right.
But there's neither here nor there. But I just wanted to make that point right there for that. It was just like, that's something that really stuck out to me.
No, but I mean, being honest, that's a point. That's a part of when you're raising older kids, because the older kids, they live in a very sexually charged culture. It's more sexually charged now than almost the violence was. So it's just very bad. But then when you get to that point where you get off of that, then you really got to tell them these soul ties are real.
Real.
And you will carry them to the next
Real.
relationship. You will be dragged by the whole situation where they taking whatever their boyfriend did, they didn't get to him, it's coming out on you.
Right.
And so a lot of that, you, especially your girl, especially your son is very perceptive. We did a training class, he was asking Ezel all the questions. But there's a point of these kids pick up. They, I don't care how good they read and write. They got eyes they can see. They got ears they can hear. And as long as they can hear and see, boy, they'll come up on you. I remember I had a conversation with my daughter on something her and her mom had said about me or whatever, and I had to just be real. Your dad was not. Your dad made some mistakes when he was married before, you know, and I had to learn from those mistakes in this marriage that I am now. And it's probably what, you know, I was telling Pierre this. I said, you really want to find out if somebody really loves you or not, come to church with somebody sitting next to you. Post that you're getting married. Oh, everybody gonna come out the room. Oh, you getting married? I always want, you know, people gonna. And that's the thing. As a man, that's why I say having a man, and you gotta have the two things is that integrity, and you gotta have that. You gotta have the ability to stand, and on nothing else, you gotta be able to stand on the word of God over everything else, because ain't nothing else gonna keep you. You know, like you're talking about me and my wife, I've learned how to lead from behind, bro, because she will step in and take bullets that's meant for me. And when she can't take it no more, that's when I come in and start boxing people up. But it's to the point of to have someone in your life like that. And I hope that all our married people get. And I always have a joke with the women like, man, I'm gonna find your husband. You want a husband? Point him out. We'll go put him in. We'll get the black bag, put him in the van. We'll go pull these guys off the street. But if it was just that simple, you know, we could just go point out a woman and she's gonna be the right one. No, ain't nobody the right one. We all gonna get with each other. We all gonna go through something. We all gonna grow. You know, so I just know that it's not easy being a single guy in church, especially when you got kids. I meet people you thought was good, you thought was promising. You got 3 kids. Well, it's been nice talking to you. I'm out. You get done. You don't even get to the date. You know, you barely get a date because the moment you tell somebody you got 3 kids, you can't be a single man with 3 kids. That's too much. So I understand that completely.
And you all's last 10 minutes. Quick question: if you all were the parents to your younger selves, what would you? If you were the black father to your younger self, what would you tell them?
It's a good question. I've got quite a few things. Don't be ignorant to wisdom. Wisdom will get you far in life. Like it's so weird how I used to look at, as we would say, old heads, and they would just tell you stuff, and you felt like it was old, but it still was prevalent to even the time you was in. I'm like, I went through that numerous times. Like, you know, man, remember he told me this. I remember when he told me that. Don't be so. Don't believe that the information you're receiving is not be useful to you. I mean, things change, but it's just the faces. They don't change what they are at the core. So at the end of the day, be able to open your mind and open your ears to the right wisdom. Let me say that.
Right.
The right wisdom, you know, because, you know, unfortunately, guys, you know, some people think that some of the things they're telling them, and very few things where the wisdom is makes sense coming from the world, but for the most part, it's not. I'm just be real with you. I mean, and be honest with you, most of the wisdom that do come from the world is derived from something that came from the Bible. I've been doing some searching lately, and I've been like, that sounds just like, and this sounds just like that came from. I'm like, oh, so you have been reading the Bible before? No, right. So you know, just simple things like that.
Yeah, I think the younger me, I would just let him cook. Because the funny thing is, I'm going back to a lot of stuff the younger me wanted to do. You know, I bought property. I bought buying vehicles cash. Moving into a position to do real estate. I've returned to the automotive industry to be a claims analyst again after so many years working in Medicare and in the manufacturing industry. So I would let I would let the young me cook because I wouldn't want to take a chance of missing out on what I have now. I think, all things have worked for my good. And I know God has really put me in place. I'm going to get to the two questions we need to get before we get you out of here. Number one, we got a fight of the decade coming up. We got Mr. Canelo Alvarez has decided to give Crawford a shot. I think Crawford's looking at 50 million. I think Canelo's making 150, which is clear A side of the situation.
All right.
Who do you got in this fight, man?
I know people gonna hate me for saying it, but I got Crawford. And the reason why is because Crawford is very close to how Mayweather moved. I mean, very close. Just meticulous how he do things, and just I've even seen him switch game plans in the middle of fights. It's only very rare fighters that do that, and those are the great ones that we all talk about consistently.
Right.
And he's one of the fighters. A difference between a fighter that's trying to get somewhere but too big for his britches.
Yeah.
And then there's fighters that he going somewhere because he know he can dominate.
Right.
That's why I'm looking at Crawford.
Well, I say Crawford was better than Floyd Mayweather. And the reason why I say he's better than Floyd Mayweather because he knocked Sean Porter. Did Crawford not knock Sean Porter out? Did he or did he not knock Errol Spence out?
He whipped him.
He knocked him out. Now, that last fight he took to the distance, but how many fights Crawford had have gone to the distance? He had 9 straight knockouts, and this was not 30. This is not 26-year-old Crawford. This is 35-year-old Crawford was knocking dudes out the ring. No, I mean, if Floyd Mayweather was putting people out like that, then I can call him the GOAT. That ain't GOAT status. And then Crawford wasn't just fighting people. Crawford fought whoever was brave enough to step in the ring with him. So Lomachenko didn't want to go there, but the English dude stepped in. He got that work. Benavidez, Jose got the work. And got the work when he was talking all that trash. So no, and then because Floyd Mayweather, I remember when he fought Maidana, he lost that fight. Now he did come back and beat the sleeves off a dude, but Crawford, to me, now I hope Crawford wins, but there could be a chance that he gets touched up and if there was one person that can't beat him, it would be this guy. You know?
Yeah. Well, I did notice that Alvarez changed because after that, he got a little better after that Mayweather fight. To me, I mean, like he moves a lot more than he used to after that fight.
Man, Floyd, let me tell you about Canelo. Canelo tried to go to 175. Bevo showed him he not about that life, beat the brakes off of him, and now he's cherry picking guys again. Because Benavidez has been sitting there. And now Benavidez went up to 175 and found out it get real. These guys hit.
Right.
Even the nobodies at 175 hit. So, hey, I'm looking forward to it. We, us church guys gonna get together. We're gonna either do it either here or maybe my man PJ Preston. We're gonna see. But we're gonna put together and see this fight, man, because I just think it'd be really good. It'd be really interesting. And I'm a Crawford fan because he a real dude, And then my last question, since we on the sports, we got LeBron or Jordan, man. Who we got in the GOAT? Who the GOAT, man?
I'm gonna be honest with you. This been going on for quite a while. If we talking about purely from a championship perspective, it's definitely Jordan, hands down. Because
don't go there. Who the GOAT, man? Who the GOAT, man? Who the GOAT?
But as far because see, it's kind of hard to really put it out there like that. You just can't say, oh well, he did that, because I've seen LeBron elevate teams. Like I watched him when he was playing the Pistons when he had Booby Gibson. Who was that? You know what I'm saying? So like,
shout out to
you know what I'm saying?
shout out to my man Danielle Marshall.
But you know, I see him take a team that was a bunch of scrubs, and here's the thing about LeBron that I noticed different in some games versus Jordan. Now I look at Kukoc and all of them was pretty much prepared with that game, if that makes sense. Like he really didn't have, if he needed them, he could go do it. But when you look at LeBron and teams, with the exception of Miami, he elevate all these teams better than what they were. Cause like Big Z, what's the dude with the floppy hair? I can't remember his name.
Anderson.
I mean, like
Anderson
and he had. I mean, the only two real help that I remember him having was Shumpert and Jr.
Well, when he went back to
speaking,
Cleveland,
that was ready to go. But for the most of the teams they had in Cleveland, they were just like.
But when he went back to Cleveland, bro, he had Kyrie Irving. I know the 1 year Kyrie was hurt. All right, and the Warriors were the team. And this is before they got KD. So I understand that situation.
Let's keep it real. That was a 2-man.
Right.
That was two. It was just LeBron and Kyrie. And,
right, but
even so, him being with LeBron elevated him.
But I'm gonna tell you why I can't put LeBron in the GOAT status.
All right, go ahead.
The one, and LeBron can't do nothing about it. He can't do nothing about it. He can win 100 championships. He can't do nothing about this. That first year in Miami, they were playing the Dallas Mavericks. They were up in game 3. I think it was game 3. Mm-hmm. They was up in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. Dwayne Wade was talking to Jason Terry and showing him the scoreboard. Mm-hmm. And the refs had to hold Jason Terry back. And you know what happened? Yeah. The Dallas Mavericks came out of timeout and took that game away. They didn't just take that game. Mm-hmm. They took the championship away from them.
True.
Bro, I remember they were partying in Miami like that was Day City. Jordan would never. Man, Scottie Pippen was hurt when they was playing the Utah Jazz. And the Jazz had a squad, bro. Yeah. And there was no stopping Michael Jordan. Flew. Somebody tried to poison my dude. Yeah. And he still went out there and scored 36 points.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because LeBron he's the best playmaker to ever play the game. Him and Magic Johnson, I'll give him that. You know, because what about Magic Johnson? What about Isaiah Thomas? What about these other guys that, you know, kind of similar? They wasn't as strong as, like Magic wasn't as strong as LeBron is. Wasn't as business savvy as LeBron is. LeBron got his whole son on the team that a lot of people say he shouldn't be on. So I say this: LeBron is the Floyd Mayweather of football. You know, he like the Floyd Mayweather of basketball because he can do whatever he want to do. Man, he could, if he tell his team, if he go in the front office say get this guy, they go get him. Jordan couldn't tell Jim Krause to do nothing. They was finna trade Scottie Pippen for Tracy McGrady, bro. They had the paperwork on the table.
Why I'm just not knowing that? That's different.
They was like, man, we need another superstar. We need another superstar. We'll get Dennis Rodman for a bag of chips. You got Dennis Rodman. You don't need no superstar. And Jordan still went out and won with Dennis Rodman wearing wedding dresses. This was peak Dennis Rodman. You didn't even know if he was coming to practice.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman was wrestling in the WWE while they were going in the playoffs.
That's a bad boy right there.
Jordan still won a championship. So LeBron couldn't. I don't think LeBron couldn't handle none of that, bro.
Well, I mean, overall, that's a legitimate argument. I can't argue with that.
I mean, Steve Kerr.
But for me, the worst part about me is that we the tweener area. We got most of all the good Jordan, and we got all LeBron. Yeah. So I guess that's why people in our rack is really arguing because we in that area. Because if you ever like really go back through all history of NBA, it was a superstar, distinct cutoff, then superstar. Yeah. These last 20, 30 years, it's like superstar moving in, passing the torch superstar. It's totally different.
No, but I look at Jordan. There are certain superstars Charles Barkley, where his rings at? And Patrick Ewing, where his rings at? Reggie Miller, where your ring?
Oh my God, we didn't even talk
He
about
took
that
one.
boy. That
He literally
that was some
took.
damn. He should have won.
He literally took the ring off of Reggie Miller's hand. Like, nope, you ain't. No, you ain't got this. Karl Malone, where your ring at, Karl? Gary Payton. Now Gary Payton came back and got one with Miami, but where was it?
Yeah, but I ain't gonna lie, but that ring kind of hit a little different because you really didn't.
Clyde Drexler.
All right.
Nope. Y'all ain't never gonna get one. Not
But
as
you know
long as
what?
23 out there.
To be honest with you, if you really think about all the teams that they were all a part of, nobody's really investing on them teams for real. Like superstars after Sean Kemp, they ain't really do nothing until they got to Oklahoma.
Dude.
Then you got Phoenix. Phoenix just had every superstar in the world on their team, and guess what?
If you take that Supersonics team and put them, because they were ahead of the game, they were running and gunning back then, playing defense. They were like what the Oklahoma City Thunder is doing now.
Mm-hmm.
You got a guard playing defense. You got a couple of bigs that run and shoot. That's what the Sonics was doing back then. And you know what Jordan said? Sit down. Cut that out.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go, bro. I don't want to run you too long. Do you have anything else that you got going on? Anything you want to tell the people, man?
Not really. Just keep God first in all that you do. Though what the word says is true all the way through and through. I know people kind of feel like, well, how do you know? The Bible tells you that everything that the Bible has said has happened or happening. And so at this point, I see a lot of things that are being said, but they have no backing.
Amen.
But the word of God has been backed since I've been alive, since before you was alive, since our forefathers were alive. So if I had to say anything, that increase your faith in God, do what you need to do it the best of your ability, and keep pressing toward the mark.
Well, this has been another episode of the Jones Underground Podcast, and we will see you again next time.
Peace.